even the Western European countries, I don't think they're as degen and as promiscuous as American women.
I don't know.
I think American women are probably I'm trying to think.
No, UK is the worst.
Yeah, England.
England?
The UK is the
It doesn't
worst.
get worse than that.
UK is the worst, and then I'd say probably countries like Germany and Netherlands are pretty bad. But
I think German women are pretty, like, you compare a German woman to an American woman.
The only reason I say that, though, is because America is still a very Christian country, and in the more rural places, you do get, like, these places are very Christian. When you get to the cities, like at Los Angeles and New York and Miami and places like this, they're probably the most degenerate places in the world. But America still has that Christian core, which I think is like holding the ship up.
Is it the majority, though? I feel like
I don't know.
the lib agnostic atheist is the majority now in the United States. But I mean, I think like you look at your average German woman versus your average American woman, I'm pretty sure the average American woman is more promiscuous than the average German woman.
Dude, if you go to Berlin, honestly, it's terrible.
I feel like European women, and that's obviously very broad in general, seem to conduct themselves a bit more uprightly than their American counterparts.
I think they're more
England,
they're smarter.
I don't know about
Definitely
England. You're probably right about England. They're probably slags or whatever they call them. But
Mate, you go out for a night out in Liverpool or Manchester. and it is
England's
horrendous.
fucked. But like
Yeah.
continental Europe, I'm pretty sure like continental European women. Scandinavia's kind of fucked. Hold on, let me think about this.
It's very
Why are
feminist
you
over
so
there.
negative about
About what?
that people are a bit more free? It can also
Free.
be.
Are you free or are you slave?
What?
That was some
No, I
deep,
think-
that was some fucking fifth grade like tweet, fucking Jaden Smith tweet shit.
Hit me up type shit.
But it's like
Perfect question.
But it's. I think it's nice that people are free to
You're-
experience. and
you mean a slave to your base primal animal urges?
It depends what you mean by free, though.
Well, there's less shame if you want to experiment or go to Bergenheim. I've never
Okay.
been, but I've heard stories.
Just for those who don't know, the Berghain is this club in Berlin where people go and you're not allowed to have your phones on you or anything like that. And everyone's dressed up really freaky and they're all having sex in the different rooms. And there's a guy who's famous for getting his mouth there.
What the-
He's like, he hangs out. I've never been here, by the way.
What?
He hangs out in the toilet and he puts his face under and people his mouth. This is a real guy. Like, and this is what they do. But this is the logical conclusion of being free, of people being able to explore whatever they want to do. You end up.
But it's one guy, you said.
Yeah.
One guy. But
You know.
I never heard that story. Interesting. No, I don't know. I think it's good that people can experiment.
Revive the Patriarchy donated $100. The reason depression and anxiety is high in the West is due to lack of purpose and discipline. The West is committed to self-destructive hedonism and self-shame. Face the mirror and accountability.
Revive the patriarchy. Great name, man. Really appreciate the message.
But that's the thing. There is also purpose and discipline, because once you go for a relationship, then you can have the commitment that you want.
Yeah, but it's kind of a risk, isn't it? Because if you go until your sort of late 20s, early 30s, and you just do what you want, you're free, you're much less likely to pair bond when you're in your 30s. And you're much less likely to have kids as well. And if you do have kids after 35 or whatever, they're much more likely to have conditions as well. So there's a lot of risk involved. So you can say that it's good and it might be fun. I'll be the first to admit that it can be fun, but is it right? Is it what's best for society? That's the question. For people to be free. And also, what is freedom? What does that even mean? What do you think freedom means?
Free to suck.
I'm curious what you mean by freedom. And do you think that people actually want to be free?
Well, I don't know. I was just listening to the whole story, and I think it's you were talking about shaming people and body counts and stuff like that. And personally, I think, of course, it matters. I don't think I would date a guy that has a body count over 100 or 50. But if other people don't have a problem with them, that, why would you shame them for it? Like we have to look at ourselves and what we want. And if I want someone with a low body count, then I look for someone with a low body count. And if she enjoys life and has a high body count and doesn't see a problem, then why would we shame her for that?
Well, because we have to live in the same society as people,
Yeah,
and we
but-
have to create a societal standard. And it does affect
But
us.
people are different.
I understand that, but I think that people are also reasonably malleable in the way that we conduct ourselves. For example, in America, they've got this big thing where you have these transgender people who are reading kids' stories in schools. And there's all this indoctrination into this sexual ideology happening in schools in America. That's the logical conclusion of freedom. Because if you believe in freedom over anything, then why is that wrong? You can't really make a case for why that's wrong. But if you believe in that that's something that should be, do you believe that that's something that should be stigmatized and shamed?
There should be a rule set in place for that.
Yeah. Why?
I think personally.
But why?
Because Monka TOS, you shouldn't mix children with certain things.
Why not?
Well, there's many reasons why you shouldn't do that. It's not good for their brains, first of all.
But you're a nihilist, though, so like, why? Get it? No, I'm not going to get deep into the philosophy with you.
Thinking
But
about the future, I mean, the kids are the future, right? So you can't brainwash them from a young age. But that's a whole different topic. Like, I don't really know what the deal is. Like, I've
What if
seen
they
it on
want to?
TV.
what if they want to read it?
What if the storyteller wants to read it?
What if the kids want to read it?
The kids want to read it. I just think they should ask their parents first.
Yeah. And what if their parents say that's fine? You can go read that book about my 11-year-old. Should that be okay?
No, they should be like maybe 14 or something.
So then you're saying at least there should be some sort of shame and stigma attached
There
to
should be some
to
rules.
sexuality.
Some rules set in
Right.
place, especially when it comes to children. Yeah.
Do you think
They
that
need to
maybe
be
that's
protected.
because we don't want the next generation of children who are going to go out into the workforce and going to have families, etc., because we don't want them to be degenerates?
Well, you call it degenerate. It sounds so negative. I just view it as people with different priorities, standpoints, lifestyles.
Do you think-
There's no good or bad in
Do you think that it's bad to be a serial killer?
Well, that's common sense.
Why?
Because
said
you're
there's no
hurting
good
other
or bad.
people.
But you said there's no good or bad.
Well, you're hurting other people. So
Do you-
obviously
do you
there's
think it's okay?
exceptions.
But don't you think that if you're one of these people who's reading books to kids, you're also hurting other people?
No, that depends, because then it's about the parents and the child, right? So what they decide to do is best, then they should follow that.
But what if it hurts the child?
Well, I hope it won't hurt the child. I don't know what they're doing, but reading a book
What
to
if you
a
could
child
you could
where-
quantify it pretty easily and say that children shouldn't be exposed to overly sexual material, and that it does hurt children?
No, it depends on how young they are. I mean, they do get like such education here in America as well, right?
But this is not sexual education. This is like sexual indoctrination of kids, and it's happening on a pretty broad scale over here. But I think to get to the meat and potatoes of it, it's to say that some things should be shamed in society, and it just matters where you draw that line. And what we're saying is that the line should be drawn way before where it is at the moment. And what you're saying is that people should be able to be free to do whatever they want.
Our lanes are way off.
But what you're saying
100%.
is that you don't. If I'm not hurting anybody else, but you are hurting other people because you have to live in the same society as people, and then my kids have to go to the same school as your kids, and I have to see you guys around, and then my kids have to watch these gay pride parades happening in the middle of the street with these naked men with their penises out dancing in front of them. That affects me, and that's the consequence of liberalism of this freedom that you guys talk about. And perhaps you haven't thought about the logical conclusion of it because in your life you don't do anything. I mean, it's pretty heinous, but you know, perhaps you haven't thought about the logical conclusion of it, but it does affect other people who you live in the society with.
I would disagree, because like Amsterdam is obviously known for the most amazing gay pride, and we bring children there, but it's a different type of
Wait.
introduction.
Revive the Patriarchy donated
Is
$100
this
and
grid
1
one?
cent. There is no discipline in the
think
West.
it's
It is
grid
beaten
one.
out of our children as during Drag Queen Story Hour. Discipline is doing what you hate but doing it like you love it, Mike Tyson.
I believe that's Grid One Motorsports. Revive the patriarchy. Hey, dude, thank you. Good to see you in the chat, man. Thank you for the message.